Hi guys, it's V2 Vengeance, and this time I'm looking at the E100 German Tier 10 heavy tank. This is a tank that there are a couple of players that are maybe they are used to high penetration guns or don't know how to angle their tank properly, but there are players that say this tank is bad. This tank is not bad. This tank in the right hands can be amazing. It can soak up so much damage, and most importantly it's also able to dish it out if you know how to use it like a pro, and I'll explain this in this video. Okay, so let's first look at the stats. 2700 health points, second most after the mouse, which has 3000. Armor wise, it's on paper battle armored at the front than the mouse, so it has 200mm, same as the mouse but at a steeper angle, so it's harder to penetrate. In fact, this upper glacis is almost impenetrable. Now that the high explosive anti-tank ammunition on the Tier 10 tank destroyers has been nerfed, I don't think there is any gun that can go through it except for some high explosive shells. Also, the turret is 250mm at the front, very well armored, thicker than the mouse's, but the mouse's armor is rounded. The 100's armor is angled, but not that much. And also you have this turret ring here, which is 200mm thick, flat. But the thing with the 100 is that it has this huge weak spot down the lower plate. The lower plate is only 120mm thick and can be penetrated by most of the Tier 10 tanks. And the problem with the lower plate is that if you get hit in the middle, the shell will hit the transmission, and if it does that, it will most likely damage your engine or even knock it out and set you on fire. So a fire extinguisher is necessary on this tank, otherwise you'll have some serious troubles. So from the front you have to be really careful about that lower glacis. From the side, on the other hand, the armor is on the whole really good. It is 120mm thick, but actually that 120mm armor is, as you can see, this one, and actually it has a 60mm of spaced armor over it, so actually you're looking at 180mm of side armor, which is the same as the mouse, but given the fact that it's spaced armor and that it is actually a little bit angled, the 100 has a better side armor than the mouse, which means that it is a very good tank for side scraping. The mouse is better because the turret is in the back and you can side scrape easier, because you can show the side armor at a lower angle. Side turret armor is 150mm thick at a pretty low angle, but in almost any tank, if the enemies are shooting flat on your side, they are going to penetrate it. But if you angle your turret front like this, they'll be having a very hard time penetrating you. There is almost no gun in the game that can penetrate you at this angle. 150mm at this angle and 250 at this angle. Only Tier 10 tank destroyers, and also they have to hit the turret ring if they want to be sure they penetrate you. From the back, it's 150mm the hole and 150mm back of the turret, with this ring here, weak spot, that you need 120mm penetration to go through it, approximately. So all around, this is a very well armored tank, and if you angle your hole at an angle like this, given the fact that you have spaced armor and 180mm of side armor, and given the fact that you also have this weak spot here, if you angle the tank like this and the turret like this, you will be going to bounce a very big amount of shots. Also, if you can hide the lower plate, you're almost invincible, except if you run into a Yak Panzer E100 that has 299 millimeters of penetration, but this is a Tier 10 tank destroyer. This is its mission, to destroy Tier 10 heavy tanks. Okay, so the armor is really good. Engine power 1200 health, 1200 horsepower, but because the tank has 130 tons, it's pretty slowish. It's not as slow as the mouse. The mouse only has 20 kilometers top speed, and this extra 50% top speed is really useful. So in some situations, for example changing flanks that it's impossible in the mouse, can be done in an E100, but I suggest you don't do it. Traverse speed 22 degrees, pretty slow. I mean, it's okay, I think, for a 130 ton heavy tank. There are mediums that cannot circle you if you're turning the turret that turns with 20 degrees per second and the hull at the same time. Faster mediums like the T62i have no problems, but you can't be so easily circled. View range 400 meters, standard for a Tier 10 heavy tank, and signal range 720 meters, a standard signal range for a Tier 10 radio. Okay, so what makes it special and better than the mouse? First of all, the increased top speed that gives it a better mobility and agility, and even though it's a pretty slow tank, you sometimes, when you're a mouse, you really wish you were in an E100. This is how slow the mouse is. Oh, and sorry, I forgot to mention two weak spots. One here, it's basically, if you shoot through here, you only have to penetrate 200 millimeters of armor. It's just, the game ignores the gun mantle, and the shell is most likely going to penetrate. And this bar here, so not the sides, those are a no hit box, as well as this bit here, but this entire part from here to here is a weak spot. It's not that big, but you're going to be hitting it, so it's good to go backwards and forwards and wiggle your turret when you're fighting against tanks. Okay, but as I said before, what makes this tank special? Well, it's the gun, and this gun is the only gun for a Tier 10 heavy tank that deals 750 average damage per shot. It's not that accurate, 0.4, hasn't got a very good aiming time, 2.9 seconds, but you have to think that this is the same accuracy as an IS-7 and actually a better aiming time. The IS-7 has 3.4 seconds aiming time. This means that the E100's gun is a very small fraction better than the IS-7's gun in terms of aiming time, and the accuracy is the same. The damage is bigger, it has 3 rounds per minute, meaning that it has an average damage per minute of 2250, which is okay. It's better than the mouse and the IS-7, but the T125, for example, has a bigger damage per minute. Why a lot of players dislike this tank is because of the penetration, which is only 235 millimeters with standard armor piercing ammunition. Personally, I don't really have problems playing with armor piercing ammunition, because if you play this tank a lot, for example, I have this tank for 1150 battles, this is my most played tank, you will often in fact, you will just know the weak spots of tanks. They will be there are weak spots that appear on every single tank in the game. For example, the lower glacis, and the second one, if they are angling at you, also have a video about that weak spot. This bit here, the inner side of the front drive wheel. Those two are the main weak spots that you're going to fire into. And this gun really has no problem penetrating those weak spots. So if you get close enough, because after all this is not a gun for sniping, you can do very well. Okay, so equipment wise, large caliber tank rammer, definitely, ventilation, and encased gun lane drive, because those are the main drawbacks of the tank. The aiming time, the accuracy, and the speed. The speed cannot be improved by any of those equipments here, but you can improve the aiming time and the loading time. And the ventilation also helps a bit the driver, so this means the tank is going to be a little bit more mobile. Just a fraction more, but still 5% is 5%. And for the crew, I suggest for the commander get 6 cents. I got Eagle Eye second. I was actually pretty noob when I first got my E100. It was my first heavy tank, and the crew had the second skill when I already had the 75, so I only had about 4,000 battles. But what I suggest you should be having on your E100 is 6 cents and repairs to all the crew. To the driver, you need preservative maintenance, because it's better to have your engine protected, because you're going to be set on fire a lot of times, and preservative maintenance is really important. And also intuition to one of the loaders. Don't put it on both loaders, because it won't stack up. I put it on both of my loaders, but it's pretty useless. I should drop the skill and add another one. Okay, so the most important skill that you want to the E100 is the repairs. Secondly, it's 6 cents, improved maintenance, and maybe on the third skill you want Brothers in Arms, because it's like a second ventilation. Okay, so let's jump into a battle and see this tank in action, and I'll also show you the tactics that you need to know. So the basic survival guide, because there are mainly two tactics that you need to use in the E100. Effective armor angling, which also includes side scraping and aiming for weak spots. And if you're going to do those two things right, you're going to be better than at least half of the other German E100 tank drivers. Okay, so let's jump into a game. Okay, so the first game is going to show you the difference between an experimented E100 and a noob one. By noob, I mean that he just bought his E100 and he only has the 128mm. Okay, so I'll fast forward here. I get shot in the side by a medium tank, and then I'm going to be raped by the object 261, sorry. So not a very good start of the game for me. And I also get shot here by the IS-8. Okay, so as you can, what I'm doing here is I'm angling against the IS-7 and IS-8. What this fellow E100 that only has the 128mm is that he's showing them his front flat on, so they will have no problem in penetrating his lower plate. So he has full health and I'm left with only 1100. tried to shoot the IS-7 in the front drive wheel, but I missed because he wasn't that close. I angle myself again. C100 starts losing health because he's not angling properly, while I have absolutely no problem in absorbing the shots from these IS-8 and IS-7s. Also, what you have to do in E100 is play aggressively, so if both of us would be side scraping right now, we would be killing these guys really quickly. But instead, what this guy is doing, he's just staying backwards, he's waiting for his gun to reload, he's waiting for them to shoot, and only then he's coming out and firing at them. What you have to do in the E100 is to side scrape or angle very well. You make them shoot you, and then you can turn the turret at them and shoot them back. And very importantly, when you're angling, unless you're loaded, try to keep the turret away from the enemy because they can penetrate you in the front of the turret. So this guy is making another push. Put a shot in the IS-8 again, get hit, I lose no damage. He's getting penetrated again because he's showing them his lower plate. I don't really make it, but he shot me for no damage. C100 goes out again. And as you can see, even though he was on full health and I was on 1100 health points, he's already down to 1300 and I lost nothing. This is the difference between an experimented E100 driver and a noob one. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he doesn't know how to handle his E100 very well. He got tracked. I hit this KB force. Weak spot on turret. I see that this IS-7 has just fired and I'm going to rush him. I'm trying to hit the perfect spot, but I don't really have the shot. I bounce. All other allies are bouncing as well. And then a second IS-7 pops out. I kill this guy and I know that because there is an object. I don't know what tank is that. 430. Sorry, I didn't see the name of the tank. So there are another tank just popped out. They have more health than us, and there is also artillery watching them. So what we need to do now is back off. I signal him to back off, and also he's clearly a newbie 100 diver because he didn't have an fire extinguisher. He just got hit and burned to death. So since he came out, that guy in the E100, I haven't lost any health at all. Meaning that I angled properly and he didn't. I switched to high explosive anti-tank right now because I know I'm going to die. I have no chance in surviving this. This guy is going to get around me, and this IS-7 is going to put shots in the side of my turret. So I just switched to high explosive anti-tank to be sure I'm going to damage those guys as much as I can. Object 430 hits the hill. I'm trying to angle properly. He bounces. I track him, and he hits my lower plate, and what I'm trying to do right now is ram into his track, because if I ram into his track, it's going to reset the timer, that repair timer on track. But I'm dead and this is going to be a defeat. But I showed you this game because I wanted to showcase the difference between a player who angles his E100 properly and one who doesn't. This game is going to be another confrontation with a team made of 11 E75s and one VK 4502B, which pretty much shows what line players prefer on the German heavy tank Tech 3. Okay, so I'm headed for the canyon and I have a division of E75s following me. And what my plan right now is to do is rush forward and get this hill, because I don't want to keep the fight on this corridor and get flanked. Unfortunately, my allied E75s are not having the same thoughts. So I spot this T-34. I know I won't be able to hit his weak spot on the turret. There is also a T-30 coming. I get hit by the T-34. T-30 is coming, I shoot, I hit the rack, I angle, and I lose no damage. Okay, so I'm just pushing for this hill here and I get welcomed by T-5041. I bounce, unfortunately, I don't really know how I bounce that. And just look what's coming here. So until now there is an M103 and the T-5041, and those E75s just stopped at that corner fighting those three enemy tanks. Not one came to help me, and it's going to get a lot worse. I angle my armor, I absorb the damage. This guy starts shooting an E75 in my back, he kills him. And I said, okay, so only... Oh shit, I spotted T-30. I know the M103 is reloading, and also because I have repair skills, I know I can put a shot in him before he reloads. But he shoots me again and fortunately does no damage. So I'm fighting off against 3 tanks. Until now I haven't lost any health. I spot this T-5041 on the side. There's a little bit of his turret turning appearing. I use the opportunity to hit him for 737 damage. So what you see me doing right now is side scraping, because they are not able to shoot my lower glacis, they only can hit the side armor, and at that angle they are never going to penetrate. Also spotted that T-30 again. Right now you see that I'm not angling, I'm not showing them my front of the turret. I waited for them to shoot, and now I turn my turret to hit them again. And just look at this, so there is a T-30, a T-5041, a T-34, another T-5041, there is an M103 there. I just fired, I'm reloading. This T-5041 just wants to go behind me. And just guess how much support I'm going to get from those E75s. Luckily he rams me. And right now I'll just pull the camera off so you can see how I'm trying to angle against multiple targets. I quickly threw the T-5041. I'm trying to angle my turret back, and I know that they can hit me. I know that they can hit me in the lower plate. They damage my engine, I repair it. Okay, so let's see what happens behind me. There are 2 E75s helping me, but they are not using their armor really smart. For example, this guy is showing them his side flat on, and this guy is giving them shots also on his side. But at least they managed to help me after I lost 700 health. But you just saw there, and now I'm being hit by the T-5041 in the middle. So in this situation you're clearly able to see how heavily armored this tank is. M103 gives me his side armor, and now I'm just yelling for those E75s to help, because what were they doing? That T-34 and the two T-30s that were there initially, they came up and fight me, and while all those 5 guys, I was fighting against all those 5 guys alone, those E75s, there are 4 of them, so there is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Those 4 E75s couldn't kill one T-34. Allied Weapon Tracker also says those E75s, oh my god. And even though I'm alone against 5 enemy tanks, I'm still praying aggressively. Actually 4 tanks, the first T-54 died. And side scraping, he hits my side armor, the track absorbs the damage, and this is my second kill. And the E75s finally managed to get from that corner and start pushing. I'm getting shot from the side again, but as you can see, my armor has no problem handling that T-5041's gun. Another T-5041 pops up. I back off. I get hit in the last moment by the T-30, and what my mistake right now was that even though I knew that there was a T-5041 in the center, I gave him my side of the armor of the turret flat on, and that resulted in my death, and this could have been a huge steel wall game. I received 26 shots in this game with a potential damage of 12,000, and any moment get spotted and I'm dead. And this was a loss, a painful loss. Most of the players were pretty incompetent. There were some good players on the team, but the vast majority were noobs. This game was about the armor and how the E100 can dish the damage out. I received 12,000 potential damage and did to the enemy team 6,000, the most in my team. Okay, so after 2 losses, let's get into a more happier game. What more happier, sorry, fuck my English, in a happier game. You can say more and then an adjective with I-ear. Okay, so let's jump into the last game. The last game is not one of my replays, it's played by Mockney Trick. And he is E100 on Rainberg on fire. My Rainberg is on fire. Okay, sorry, I annoyed you with my awesome singing talent. Okay, so let's get going. He's heading straight for the center, and he's going to beat some ass. And this game was really interesting for a number of reasons. first, the fact that he gets a Kolobonov doesn't matter in this game, so he's left alone against 5 tanks. And secondly, there's his first kill. And secondly, how he's going to deal with an enemy AMX 3075. But we'll get to that later. I don't know why he's pushing this AMX right now. Could have gotten around. Oh, maybe he was AFK. Okay, so he puts one shot into the T124 and does exactly the right thing that any E100 driver should do. And that is, of course, side scrape. He makes himself some space, he gets hit in the back by his ally. Fortunately, he does no damage to him. And this is where a fearsome corner battle starts. I just put this in double speed. And this is the perfect example of the E100 taking the damage and being able to dish it out. So already the enemies are not looking that confident. He got into him only one penetrating hit on the lower plate. And he's just raping those Star 9 heavy tanks. The E100 is dead. And this is when the game starts to be interesting, because they're losing and someone has to save the game. And guess who that someone is? Yes, it's Mock Trick. He spots a T-57 heavy blocked into a house, releases him from the life sentence, and he spots this T-54 and MX 1375 rushing, so he stops, he aims, and that was a lucky shot, ammo wrecked. That shot might have won the game, but I'm not sure. Who knows what would have happened. So there is an MX 5120 at the base, capping. He's a one-shot kill for the E100 right now. So he just casually rushes him because he knows that MX has nowhere to run. He has no problem if he takes one hit for him. So this is where the game starts to be interesting, because he's left alone against 4 tanks. There were 5 big, but he just killed the MX. And as you can see, in this entire game, he fired no round of armor piercing ammunition. Only now, when the game is getting critical, he's switching to high explosive anti-tank. And he has to make all the shots count. It's really important, because otherwise he can get attacks from different directions. A75 easy kill, shot in the lower plate with a high explosive anti-tank. He had no chance of passing. And this is the part where with this AMX fight around this house. So he's in on E100 and that guy is an AMX, so he can stop him from capping, but he's never going to be able to catch him. And so, a very important message: report M103 AFK. So he already knows he's actually fighting against 2 tanks, this MX and the GW Type E. and he might be in a very big danger because the GW Type E, if he sits there with this AMX spotting for him, the E100 can be dead. But the GW Tiger makes a really big mistake. He comes out in the middle of the field and one-shot kill. So right now he cannot go away and try to keep because see this AMX is 2 meters away from his base. So what he decides to do is pretty creative. He tries to push this E75 wreck but with no success. And then he spots the AMX wreck. Oh yes, he's just going to put the wreck there, so the AMX spots him as he's trying to block the other entrance. He wants to make the AMX think he's going after him. So he starts pushing this wreck, and as soon as the wreck is in position he can go on the other way. The AMX will want to run, but he will be blocked by the wreck and that will be an easy kill. But the AMX is not stupid. As you are going to see. Yep. That guy ain't stupid. But at least he got away from his capture point. So what he can do right now is actually try to go for the enemy cap. He first thinks that if the MX is going to try to go to his base again, he's going to go something like this. So not to go after him and not spot him while he's on this open field. He takes the longer way, he comes back to the base and then starts advancing through the middle. There are only 3.5 minutes left into the game, so he really has to make it count. He's just arrived at the enemy base where that AFK M103 should be. But very importantly, he has to first start capping and then start shooting the AFK M103. And this is exactly what he does. He starts capping and then puts one shot into the M103. There are already 10 seconds. He's already 10 seconds into the cap. And that AMX, if he starts capping, has no chance in winning. And this is JJ. The TMX is never going to cap before him. He kills the M103 and this is just going to last until the canter finishes. This was an Invader, a Kolobonov's Metal, Top Gun, Steel Wall, and Sniper, because he shot 15 times and all 15 shots hit. And as you could see, he only fired 2 rounds of high explosive anti-tank, which clearly showed that the E100 can dish out the damage with standard armor piercing ammunition. Okay, so thanks for watching, guys, and good luck on the battlefields. Have a great day.